Special counsel Robert Mueller says President Donald Trump's efforts to influence the Russia investigation were mostly unsuccessful, but that was because the people surrounding the president declined to carry out orders to accede to his requests. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Mills.
I'm Lee Nelson. Glad you're with us this evening. The report details instances by several officials ignoring or refusing Trump's requests. Attorney General William Barr says a version of the Mueller report with fewer redactions will be made available to a small group of lawmakers. In a letter to Congress, Barr said the second version of this report would be given to the so-called Gang of Eight, the top-ranking House and Senate lawmakers from both parties who can view sensitive classified information. The Democrats, of course, want the full report released.
Samantha York is in Augusta. She caught up with members from Maine's congressional delegation and got their thoughts on the Mueller report. Sam, what did they say?
Yeah, Lindsay, all four of our congressional leaders were here in Augusta today for a groundbreaking ceremony for the VA's newest facility that's set to open in 2021. But despite that celebration, the hot topic was the Mueller report. They say they haven't really had enough time yet to read through everything and wanted to remind people that it is going to take them some time to get through those 400 plus documents, but they want to make sure they're inspecting everything before they give too much of a statement. Congresswoman Shelley Pingree also echoing that when I spoke with her, but she also mentioned the fact that the White House was able to have access to this report before Congress and reporters.
I thought it was a very political act that Attorney General Barr would come out and give his opinion of it before the press or the Congress even had a chance to see it. And I would say Attorney General Barr needs to decide if he's the Attorney General of the United States or the president's lawyer. You know, it's a big difference there.
Is that I want to read the report. We're going to get hopefully a mostly unredacted version at the Senate Intelligence Committee. It was mentioned in the report. We've got a lot to digest, and I think that's all I want to say. I like to look before I leap, and I'm going to do some looking before I make any conclusions about what happened today.
Serious subject, and we're going to treat it as such, and so we're going to read every page, and at that point we'll be happy to talk to you more.
I'm pleased that the report is finally out and that Congress will be given an opportunity, the leaders of Congress, to read a version of the report that is mostly unredacted. It's important that the American people have the opportunity to review the report, and until I've read it, I really can't comment much further than that.
We expect to hear much more from our congressional delegation after this weekend. They all say they plan on using this time to go through the full report. Lee and Lindsay, back to you.
All righty, Sam. Thank you very much.
Well, the clouds definitely crept in.
Yeah, you know, when I woke up this morning, it was actually beautiful out.
Right?
And then Keith acted, and it changed everything.
It's almost the way I said it might happen, right? We start with a little bit of sun, and then and now it's not very nice. It's kind of
It's almost the way you said
almost. That's the best you can really hope for in this field. We got some showers moving across down east and northern Maine. That's part of the warm front that's moving through. Down to the south, though, just a couple of sprinkles that aren't showing up on radar, and kind of a moist environment overnight tonight. We've got the warm front here and then the cold front down here, and so we're technically now going to be in what's called the warm sector overnight tonight in through Friday and parts of Saturday as well. Sounds great, but it will come with some unsettled weather as well and a lot of cloud cover, as you can already see out there. Temperatures in the mid 40s and low 40s. This is kind of classic spring in Maine right now, where it's cloudy. We got low level moisture. Temperatures are in the 40s, so it feels even cooler than that. Good news is tomorrow will be a warmer day, and if we break any sunshine in there after the showers come through tonight, watch tomorrow. In the middle of the day, it looks like we could get a little sun in here. If we do that, we'll get to near 70 degrees by tomorrow afternoon, away from the coastline, because the coastline this time of year never has any fun. So just, you got to realize that that's how it's going to be. Upper 50s, low 60s along the coast. Look at Rockland and Bar Harbor just mirroring that ocean temperature. But again, there is some inland warmth to be had. Guys, the bad news is the weekend looks like it did before, which is rainy for, 3/4 of it.
All right.
Got the umbrellas ready.
Yeah, darn it. Okay, Keith, thanks. See you again in a bit.
In headlines today, a French judicial police official says investigators are looking at an electrical short circuit as the most likely cause of the Notre Dame Cathedral fire. The official spoke anonymously. He added that investigators still don't have the green light to work in the cathedral and search in the rubble for safety reasons. Paris officials say the investigation into that fire will be long and complex. 50 investigators will be questioning hundreds of workers for the 5 companies that were doing restoration work at the cathedral at the time.
North Korea is demanding that U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo be removed from high-stakes negotiations over the nuclear program. The country's foreign ministry accused Pompeo of causing the talks to break down. He said he wants to negotiate with someone, quote, more careful and mature than Secretary Pompeo. Meantime, North Korea has test-fired what it described as a new type of tactical guided weapon. It did not provide details, but said the weapon would increase the Army's combat power.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says next month he'll introduce legislation to raise the nationwide minimum age for buying tobacco from 18 to 21. The McConnell bill, as it's so called, will reportedly cover all tobacco products, including vape devices. McConnell announced this bill in his home state of Kentucky earlier today. Kentucky is one of the nation's largest tobacco producers, but it also has one of the highest lung cancer rates in the country. The Centers for Disease Control says 9 out of 10 smokers smoked their first cigarette by the age of 18. An update now to a story we told you about last week. Biddeford joining the growing number of towns in Maine that are banning plastic bags.
Yeah, this new ordinance prohibits retailers in the city from offering bags as an option, plastic bags. Plastic shopping bags can actually technically be recycled, but not in the general recycling containers that most Maine communities use. However, people are putting them in those containers nonetheless, and it is contaminating the rest of the whole recycling process. So the ban takes effect on July 15th. There is time then for stores to get rid of the inventory of those they already have. After July 15th, retailers can be fined $250 for a first violation and $500 for each subsequent violation. Stores may still choose to provide paper bags to customers for a fee or for free. And this story had quite a bit of activity on Facebook. Erica says, I work at a grocery store and a lot of customers don't mind that we are going to be using paper.
Adam adding, so after whining for years about plastic, we are back to paper. And Daniel wants the attention to be shifted to getting rid of plastic straws instead.
Which is probably next.
Right.
Could be
it's only a matter of time for
right.
that as well. Skowhegan 7th grader Sierra French is just like every other 12-year-old. She enjoys riding her bike, camping with her grandparents in the summer, and going on long walks throughout town.
Yeah, but right now a debilitating diagnosis is stopping Sierra from doing any of those things. Samantha Sugarman joins us now with more on Sierra's story. Samantha?
Lee and Lindsay, Sierra French has chondrosarcoma. It's a tumor in her right knee. According to the experts at Dana-Farber and Boston Children's Hospitals, where Sierra is being treated, chondrosarcoma almost never affects young children. It's very rare, and that's put Sierra in this wheelchair for months. Since being diagnosed with cancer last summer, though, she has mastered a range of indoor activities. She reads, draws, and plays the flute through non-stop pain. Sierra is hoping her days of living with pain are numbered, though, since she's scheduled to have knee replacement surgery to remove the tumor next week. Through it all, Sierra has been optimistic and has put on a brave face, and that's not stopping now.
It might be a while before I can do some things, but at least it'll be better than being in pain all the time.
After surgery, Sierra will need to do a lot of physical therapy, so it may not be until next summer that she's able to get back on her bike, Lee and Lindsay, but she told me she is very much looking forward to that day whenever it comes. I'm Samantha Sugarman, News Center, Maine.
Excellent. All right,
Wish
we're going to
best of luck.
more on this story this evening at 6 as well. All right, so we're going to squeeze in a quick break. Later, what some are calling the most expensive bunt of all time.
All the expensive things this week. And dairy farmers in Maine say they're in the midst of an economic crisis. Prices are the lowest they've been in years. The way some farmers are working to keep their livelihoods alive.
Is that your story?
Yeah, so sorry if I smell like manure.
You don't?
It's funny, Steve Sherburne, our chief photographer, when I got back from the farm today, he was kind of bummed he didn't go with me today. I was bummed he didn't go with me today too. But he said he oddly finds that smell, he likes that smell. And it's so funny, I think I do too, because my grandparents lived in a really rural area of New Hampshire, so it makes me, those smells of the farms,
right.
I associate with them.
It's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you didn't have that nostalgia, you probably would not like
Yeah,
that smell.
exactly.
I'm going to guess.
Yeah. It's like cigarette smoking too. I know a lot of grandparents smoked, parents smoked, and so when you smell that, you think of that person.
Think of them.
Yeah.
Boy, that is one thing that I do not have. My dad smoked.
And you don't associate it?
I never, ever smoked in my life.
Really?
And that's why. And, you know, I was the classic kid. You know, we'd go on the car trips, and he would, you know, he'd have the window cracked like a millimeter, and the whole car would be full of smoke, and I'd be like dying.
And you were sitting in it with all the secondhand smoke.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just awful.
But that was the way for so many families.
It sure was. Oh, absolutely. It sure was. And, you know, he tried 8 million ways to quit. He couldn't quit, just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it was just, I'm not someone you want to smoke around.
Paul is all about the Jeopardy records being broken again.
Oh my gosh, we were just talking about that. Upstairs,
Yeah.
and I think we got something on that coming up.
Okay.
So I watched it last night. Paul, if you watched it too, this guy has a strategy. He's have you been watching?
I know.
Oh no, he's got a specific strategy.
Yeah.
What he does is, so he goes for the bottom row right away. Okay, so he's getting more cash faster. I mean, ultimately you have to answer the question, which he answers all of them.
Do most people usually go for the lower amount?
Yeah,
first,
they work
the
their way
question?
down. Yeah.
Okay.
But he goes right for the bottom, and then he works his way up. So when he hits the daily double or whatever it is, he's built up way more cash. So then he can bet more than he can. So he made 130 grand in one show last night.
You got every question right.
He got every question right?
He is unbelievable, this guy.
So do you think this is going to change the way people do the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think he must be reading the last line of a question. I mean, he's like weighing in instantaneously, but he knows everything. You know, he knows everything. The guy's incredible.
That's unbelievable. Got to give it to people who can do that. Okay, yesterday it was Lyft. Today it's Uber rolling out new safety features. Those features take effect over the next couple of days all across the country. Uber will be pushing out an alert for riders to confirm that the correct person is picking them up. Also, when an Uber is ordered, riders will frequently be reminded to check the license plate, the make and model of the car, as well as the name and picture of the driver. The company says it will also be working with universities to develop special pickup zones on and off campus.
All right, much like Lyft. You Drive, You Text, You Pay is back. It's a program from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration entering its 5th year. And it's a reminder that distracted driving can have costly consequences. According to a new study by a group called Oddities, 98% of drivers admit to using their cell phones at some point on the nation's highways. Each day, 9 people will die and another 1,000 will be injured in distracted driving accidents. The agency says 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while you are texting. Yikes. The Sunshine State has some competition now when it comes to the top spot for retirees.
According to a new survey by United Van Lines, retirees are flocking to New Mexico to enjoy their golden years. The company polled nearly 27,000 customers last year, found 42% of those who moved to New Mexico did so because they wanted to retire. Florida came in second with 38%, and Arizona followed in 3rd place as the top retirement state among those moving last year. And here's perhaps a bit of a surprise, Maine, number 6 on the list.
Yeah, I mean, all the others are super warm areas, but Maine, but
we
I get
work for
it.
our summers.
Yeah, but summers here are good for sure, no question. All right, coming up, we're going to see why one officer is taking Don't Text and Walk a little bit more seriously.
You got to see this video, and you might not be able to take Keith seriously, because we certainly have a hard time with that, but
we never listen.
We're getting the rap. I love it. What's that say? Rap? Yeah, I thought that said warm up. When you were walking around with it.
Stretch out a little bit.
Oh, that's
okay,
funny.
So we're talking about smells that you like. You want to know a smell that Todd loves?
Okay.
And it is bizarre. Gasoline.
What?
He loves the smell of gasoline.
Todd, God love him, he's a psycho.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
that is.
wrong.
I mean, that's like one of the most foul smells. I think that is.
He's a hopper.
Right?
But does he say why?
Yeah, he just says, I just love, oh my God, I love that smell. Like I was complaining, I think I spilled some on my shoe or something one day when I was filling up my car, and he's like, oh my God, I love that smell. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's like my favorite smell.
Bizarre.
Gutner likes the smell of gas.
I love the smell of napalm
In the morning.
Yeah.
Name the film.
What?
Name the film.
Name the film? Oh gosh, I'm terrible with films.
Name the film.
I'm terrible.
Come on, you guys.
I know,
Come on,
I'm
you millennials.
terrible. I'm terrible with films.
Smells like victory.
Apocalypse Now.
Oh, I've never seen that. I'm terrible.
That is a must.
I have seen it, but
Yeah?
That is a must.
I'm always taking recommendations.
That's Robert Duvall.
Oh. Did you guys watch Game of Thrones?
Yes. Yeah.
I finally watched it. You guys watch Game of Thrones?
Finally watched it, meaning the new one. The new
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I felt like it was just a reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate that because I forgot what was happening.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Where are we anyway? Oh, we're at your story.
Oh, Paul, nobody set off the fire alarm yesterday. It just happened. And we had to follow protocol right after the show.
Maybe Gutner set it off. Oh, wait.
Safety first, that's right.
Fred, you used to work on a farm in Washington State.
Wow, and he's watching?
Fred, you live in Maine now, though, right? I think? Yeah. Oh.
Robert Duvall is the best. I know, right, Pam? You don't see him much anymore. I wonder if he's not well. I mean, I have no, I don't know that.
You don't know, but you just wonder.
You just don't see him anymore. He was so good. What was the movie? What was the name of the movie he was in? Where he was the
Jet pilot?
No. He was the army father, and he was just so brutally militaristic with his family.
Yeah.
Sport. He called his kids Sport.
I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
what was the name of that?
Ken, good to see you upright in the newsroom.
All right, we're back. You likely have this in your fridge right now, or it's on your shopping list. If not, when it comes to milk, we don't often think about where it comes from. And in Maine, there are more than 200 dairy farms.
But dairy farmers are getting some of the lowest prices in years for their milk. It's an issue nationwide, but in Maine, some have found hope, in part thanks to niche dairy markets. For example, organic milk used to make yogurt and cheese.
It's a life like no other. I mean, I never expected to be doing this, but I can't imagine doing anything else now.
Annie Watson and her husband own Sheepscot Valley Farm in Whitefield. With dozens of cows, they produce 450 gallons of organic milk a day. Their milk goes to Stonyfield Yogurt in New Hampshire and is used to make yogurt and cheese. But even by tapping into that niche dairy market, they're feeling the pinch like so many others.
Dairy farms in the state, dairy farms across the country are facing an economic crisis. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of price makers and the price setters. We don't control what the price is.
Watson says the price drop is devastating.
Sometimes we don't pay ourselves, which we're really excited to start doing that a couple years ago, but now we've had to stop because we want to be sure that we're taking care of our employees.
They bought the farm in 2013 when many dairy farms were closing. At least 100 closed over the last decade in Maine, according to the Maine Milk Commission.
There's no organic processing in the state of Maine at the moment, which provides a little bit of uncertainty for us.
Whether it's organic or conventional, we could use more dairy processing, small to mid-scale processing in Maine.
Julie Marie Bickford is the executive director of the Maine Dairy Industry Association, a trade group which represents Maine's dairy farmers.
If we had a wish list of how we could fix the system, we would fix the formula that sets that federal pricing so that what the consumer is paying in the store, the farmer gets their fair share of that.
This month, the USDA announced it's starting to implement the 2018 Farm Bill. Watson calls it a Band-Aid.
Farmers don't want to be subsidized. Dairy farmers don't want to be subsidized. We'd rather get paid a fair price for our product. And that's not going to happen until there's some stability in the in the market.
She and others are concerned about the future with their livelihoods on the line.
When you're so connected to the business in which you run and you spend your life, it's really hard to separate the two.
So Maine dairy farms produce 71 million gallons of milk a year, according to the Maine Dairy Industry Association. 27% of those farms produce organic milk. That's one of the highest percentages in the nation.
Great. Excellent.
Luca just went from formula to
milk.
And that's one of the things we do get organic, because we're like, he's drinking like a lot of
Right.
it. You know, it's not like it's like a little creamer and a coffee or anything. So.
You never know, that milk could come from Maine.
Yeah. It's he's a big fan. He's a big fan of the milk.
Of course.
Today kind of went downhill fast.
Yeah.
Really fast.
Tomorrow will be decent, but we're going to be in a wet pattern for a while. So let's just.
And Saturday is the soaker.
Saturday does not look great. Easter Sunday. So do you want to do the whole thing, or do you want me to just?
No, I'm just telling you that I listened to you.
Actually, yeah.
No, I cannot do what Sharon did. Sharon was a pro.
Is Sunday going to be like half wet? Is Monday going to be showery? No, just look at the radar right now with showers over northern Maine and a little mixing the high terrain there. I bet that's a reality because it's not that warm. You go up just a couple hundred feet. Warm front here, cold front here, and so as this lifts through, we do get into the warm sector, which means that tonight temperatures aren't really going to drop very much, but the downside of that is a significant cloud cover in the warm sector and also quite a few showers you can see popping up here and there down to the south. So temperatures pretty socked in here in the 40s. Again, we're in the 40s, low 40s. A lot of us will stay pretty much right here all night tonight, so we won't really drop off very much at all. But it's not a pleasant 41, 42 because of the clouds. Maybe a little onshore flow could produce some fog and some mist in areas that aren't showing showers on the radar. Then by 10 o'clock tonight, you can see the showers a little bit heavier in nature, and then they move through around midnight. By tomorrow morning, I think a lot of the day on Friday is actually dry. The question is, how much cloud cover do we see? I think mostly cloudy is the right play, but we could break into some sun here for a couple of hours during the middle of the day into the early afternoon, which would allow us to get into the 60s and perhaps some low 70s away from the coastline through tomorrow afternoon. And then here comes the trailing cold front on Friday night in through early Saturday, giving us periods of rain through Saturday. It's not an absolute soaker, but it is off and on rain throughout the day, so I think it's going to be hard to plan anything outside on Saturday. And then the rain continues through the first half of Easter Sunday before perhaps clearing a bit on Sunday afternoon. Total rainfall amounts are going to be important here because they've backed off quite a bit since yesterday's models. Now we're looking at about an inch, up to 2 in Millinocket. The reason this matters so much, of course, is the snowpack across northern Maine. 2.5 inches could be a big problem. An inch could be tolerated. So we are going to see some river flooding likely this weekend, but the difference between an inch and 2.5 or 3 is going to be big when it comes to flooding. But there are some flood watches already in effect. And after that, we just have a cutoff low that just spins around, guys, for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So it's not bad, but it's going to be unsettled because we've got that cold pool of air and showers around. And if you've lived in Maine for any period of time, you've seen this exact pattern before, and it's quite common in May as well. So this is appropriate for the season. A lot of raindrops. Again, Saturday through Sunday morning is the most consistent of the rain. I could imagine a situation where Monday you don't get any of the showers, you know, so it's one of those deals. But my general rule is if it's over a 20% chance of a shower, you got to put the raindrop in. So you've got a lot of 40-40s, you know, in there on Monday and Tuesday. And nothing super mild either. Tomorrow's probably your warmest day, especially if you can get away from the coast, which is a good thing to do this time of year.
You need a little raindrop with a question mark in it.
Right, like maybe,
Right.
like the Riddler raindrop.
Right.
Well, we used to have more options, but when we get the whole corporate overlook, they're like one raindrop.
Right.
That's
That's
so
all you get.
Makes it a little bit harder to. That's why you need me, I suppose.
Yes. Well, for now.
Job security.
Okay, thanks.
All right, you have to see this if you haven't already. Walking and texting can be dangerous. Just ask a police officer from Dover Foxcroft. Officer Dennis was doing just that, going up some stairs. The phone and water bottle you saw go flying. He was a good sport, though, about it, and he wants it to be a lesson, share the lesson that he learned the hard way. It happens, you know, you're multitasking, you're moving.
It happens.
Yeah, it's all right. This one's really good, too. Did you see
really
this
good,
one?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. The ball rolled perfectly down the imaginary first baseline, a superb bunt, a real baseball game, a single, no doubt.
What no? This is just former Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski 2 weeks after announcing his retirement, using the Lombardi Trophy as a baseball bat to bunt a pitch from longtime teammate Julian Edelman. And yeah, the trophy is dented.
No.
It went down in the Boston Red Sox home opener when Gronk and the other Pats visited Fenway Park to celebrate the Super Bowl win. He and Edelman and Stephon Gilmore and others were all slated to throw out a synchronized ceremonial first pitch before the game against the Blue Jays, and the cameras were rolling as the trio warmed up underneath the tent. You can see that look on his face like,
I know.
I think I might have just done something dumb. Yeah, Gronk being Gronk.
Gronk being Gronk. And I think the Lombardi Trophy is going to be in Maine tomorrow. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
In Augusta.
Hopefully it's that one.
Yeah, the dented.
Yeah.
The dented Lombardi.
And there's a lot of talk. Are they going to fix it? Are they not? Don't fix it. It's going to be more famous than the others, you know?
The Stanley Cup's seen worse situations, I would imagine.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Animal residents at a London zoo kicking off Easter celebrations a little early as zookeepers fed them some extra special treats as part of the festive Easter egg hunt. The ZSL Zoo's four-ringed, I don't know where this is, tailed Codus scavenged around their forest den in search of brightly colored eggs stuffed with tasty crickets. This is in London. The zoo's resident colony of Humboldt penguins also feasted on a fishy breakfast while their troop of black-capped squirrel monkeys woke up to their very own type of eggs. This sounds like the menu I'm going to be having at Easter. Just kidding. Zookeepers say the bright colors help stimulate the animals and give them some enrichment.
Very good.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Cindy is here to tell us
I just
what's coming up in
appeared
the next half
magically.
hour. Yes.
I know. There she is. You were here just in time for the Lombardi trophy.
I say don't fix it too. I mean,
Yes.
they have 20 of them. What do they care if one of them's
Plus,
dented?
in the Patriots Hall of Fame, which is in Foxborough, you should see it if you haven't been. It's gonna, you know, there'll be the other ones, and then there'll be the one with the Gronk spot on
And
it.
everybody will talk
Yes,
about the Gronk
yeah.
spot. All right. We got a lot of news coming up for you on Newscenter at 5:30. We'll, of course, have more on the release of the redacted Mueller report. Also, some new numbers are out, though, on the number of drug overdoses in Maine last year. Good news, the numbers were actually down from the year before. The bad news, 80% of those overdoses involved opioids. Plus, driving while drowsy can be just as bad, even worse than driving while drunk. We now, though, have some actual numbers on how much sleep deprivation it takes to appear legally drunk behind the wheel. And I know Lee knows all too well what it's like to be
being tired,
really
leaving work.
tired.
Yeah. But
Drowsy
not anymore.
Not anymore.
We have to take a break, right?
Yeah, we'll see you guys on a Newscenter Maine at 5:30.
All right.
And Keith and I will be back with Braindrops. Your hair looks amazing. It wasn't styled when Viv and I were talking to you earlier, right?
It's a lot shorter than I thought it was.
Yeah, but it looks so good.
Really short, but it's fine.
No, it looks so good. Have you ever had it like that before?
Oh yeah, I used to have it really short.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it looks so nice. I noticed the color when, well, the glaze
Yeah,
you're talking about, but
it's supposed to take the brass out, but it took
it looks awesome. Awesome. You want to sit? Okay. So, yeah, we're going to have a seat. So someone was asking on Facebook about who sets the dairy prices. And just to answer that, it's a formula that's from the federal government. It boils down to supply and demand and that whole thing, but it's on the federal level that those prices are set. And there are two programs that I did not. Yeah, you can just fake it away. There are two programs in Maine that help set a minimum base for prices for Maine dairy farmers. It won't help them make a profit necessarily, but it helps them at least have some peace of mind knowing that they're going to get at least X amount. I'll have more on that as soon as I post it at our website. Some of you were asking about what I said to Ken about good to see you upright. Yesterday, he took a picture with Dustin Vladkowski of him laying in the rubble of what was our newsroom. Ken! Happy birthday, by the way. And it's his birthday, so it is always good to see somebody
How old, buddy?
living their best life on their birthday.
What?
Ooh.
36. Yeah,
Yes.
just bring it up full. Samesies.
Sarah.
You're welcome. 30 away.
I think we have a troller, which, by the way, did you see that there was a troll, this guy? Did you see that they had to identify what troll meant in the Mueller report today? This at least isn't as bad as the imaginary couch auction that happened on here one time.
Don't encourage them.
Yeah.
All right, short, simple brain drops, but cool tonight. Check this out. This is a map of the world, and each section contains 10% of the world's population. So what struck me about this, it doesn't surprise me, obviously, that Asia is narrow because there's so many people in that area. What surprises me is that you're able to get Tokyo in that right-hand slice and have it still be so big. And then look at the United States, how big that slice is, because, of course, when you go down in latitude, you're running into Central America, which is a lot of people as well, but then Chile and on the western side of South America. But that's cool. It's Amazing Maps on Twitter.
Oh.
Has amazing maps.
I'll be searching that later.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now. You zoom in, and Maine is like off at Eastport.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.